All right, I'm back with our hand illustration here. So I have already planned my page looking at my reference photo. So here's my reference photo here, my hand with the feather. And I have made my page plan so that my illustration is included. I have a title planned, that's this box up here. I have thought about grid-based design, and I'm going to be putting a box, or not a box, I'm going to be putting a bank of text here for either muscle and tendon labels or bone labels. And my second set of labels for the opposite thing will be down here. So this is what my finished illustration will look like, allowing for those text components as well. We're going to begin that illustration with a contour line drawing of the hand because it is that hand drawing that will actually guide the rest of the components of the illustration. So we're going to start by drawing the outside of our hand. So here you see I have my reference photo and I have it pulled up on the screen. I have gridded my sheet using a 1-inch grid in my sketchbook. So my two prep pieces are finished. So I have my 1-inch sheet and I am conscious of knowing that the title for my illustration will go here at the top and that my page is a 9 by 12 page. So I have 9 boxes wide and 12 boxes tall on my grid of my piece of paper. And what I'm going to do now is look at my reference photo and pull it up. So if I'm doing this on my Chromebook screen, I would pull my reference photo up on my Chromebook screen. And I have, you can see I've used a piece of tape to mark off a 9 by 12 section of the grid on this sheet. You don't have to do that. I found it useful. All of our illustrations will be 9 by 12. We won't do anything bigger ever, and we will always use a grid. And so I now have visual reference that this is the top of my sheet of paper. This is the bottom of my sheet of paper. And I can kind of visually plan my illustration now and adjust the photo size as needed to either fill more space or less space so that I have room on my piece of paper for my text. So right now I can see that I need to scoot my hand up a little bit so that I have room above here for a title. So remember, each of these boxes on the plastic is a 1/2 inch. Out on my actual illustration, it's going to be 1 inch. So I'm kind of thinking my title is going to need to go right along this line between the 1 and the 2. So I want that out of the way of any other elements that are in my illustration. So I'm sliding that up enough. I also want to make sure that nothing ends up too awkwardly close to the edge of my paper, right? So if I line things up this way, end up with a lot of extra space and my thumb is almost cut off. So I'm thinking about that as well, that my illustration from side to side should also line up. And it is about the hand. And so I can make sure that I get all the parts in. Once I'm happy with like what looks like visually the layout, and I feel like I have enough room for text, like that gives me 3 inches on this side for text, like under my finger. And it gives me a couple of inches up here. Remember, I was thinking about text sections here and here. If for some reason I'm looking at this now and I'm saying, man, that's not enough space, I might need to make my photo smaller. And that could very well be the case, right? So you would have to work with your device. One way that I have discovered is easiest to make pictures bigger and smaller so you can see them on your Chromebook screen is to place this image into a slideshow or into a document, and then I can adjust the size so that because even here on my iPad I can make it bigger. I can't make it any smaller than this. And so, but if I put it into a doc, I would be able to make it smaller quite easily. So that's something for you to think about, that if you find when you're going to lay this out, if you find that your hand on the screen is just too ginormous to actually successfully fit on the paper and make the illustration from, you're going to have to find a solution for that. And the best solution that I have discovered is definitely to move it into a slideshow or a document, because you can then adjust accordingly. I think I'm gonna have just enough room. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little piece of tape here to hold my image in place while I'm drawing. The great thing about working in a document too is, you know, when you open that back up, you're gonna have saved it. It will be the right size, okay? So now that I have my image ready to go, and I have my grid on top, I'm going to go back to my 1-inch grid here, and I'm going to work one grid square at a time to make my illustration. And you can see I've started that process here already, and I'm just working one square at a time. This really makes a hand feel gigantic, doesn't it? It's going to be larger than life, actually. And I'm going to just draw exactly what I see in each square. And sometimes that means I'm looking at it and I'm saying, oh, that barely comes into this square. And I'm just going to make myself like a little mark. I am also looking for little details like this, like the creases in my hand as well, because all of that is part of the illustration that I'm going to be doing. I want this to be incredibly accurate. So you can see I've drawn my fingernail. I've drawn some of the creases and the wrinkles that I see here on my fingers. And now I'm going to move on. On this next box, box number 7, I can see that it comes, my hand hits just past the halfway mark. And there's like a dent. So my thumb comes to here, and then this goes this way. The next box, it goes all the way down. And this is just how you're going to draw the entire thing right off the edge of the paper. Now, if I discover that I have made a mistake in the gridding, right? All of a sudden I'm saying to myself, my finger is all the way over on J. How did I mess this up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, that's what I did. So already I've made a mistake, and I see that I have to shuffle everything over a box, which is a bummer, but not insurmountable right now. But right now I looked and I'm going to end up off the paper. I'm early enough. So you do want to double check, is this getting too big and am I on the right part of my page? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to redraw everything over a square. And so there you go. I get a do-over chance. But make sure that you too are double checking your work before you get too far, right? It would make me really sad if I had tried to draw the fingers now and then discovered that I didn't have enough room. Right now, it's pretty easy for me to shuffle everything over. It was drawing in the wrong grid square. And I realized it when I got out here to the bottom outside of the edge, and I was going way down my arm, and I knew that didn't feel right. But easy squeezy, I fixed it. I'm just gonna go ahead and redraw. So please make sure that you're thinking about that as well as you're drawing, so that you too don't end up with everything being a little bit in the wrong spot, okay? The goal for this phase is to have a finished contour line drawing to work from.